If you want to photograph Arizona, you're in the right place. Internationally famous travel and fine art photographer Kerrick joins me today to discuss photography in his home state of Arizona. Stick around till the end to see how an expert does it when we review some of his photos. Welcome back, Kerrick. It's been too long.
It has been, and we've had a little happening in the past year or so since we last chatted this way. So it's good to see you again, Kirby.
Good to see you. So one of the reasons I got in touch is I noticed that you had a gallery showing coming up in a couple of weeks, and seemed like an opportune time to get together. What was the inspiration for that?
Several inspirations. I've been a resident of Arizona since the late 70s, and I've been roaming it, photographing it ever since during that time, and written many articles, obviously, and photographed many more. And at some point, you get to where you'd like to share or do a retrospective look back at the changes maybe in some of the locations, and also at the breadth and depth of the images that I've shot. And I thought it would be a great challenge to condense and choose my favorites and then show them. And I've got a good friend who owns Art Intersection Gallery in downtown Gilbert, Arizona. And he and I have been meeting over coffee for years and talking about this. And finally, this last spring, he said, "I think it's time. So why don't you choose images and we put it together." So it opens on December 4th, and it runs for just a shade over 3 months to March 5th.
Nice.
It is a retrospective of Arizona, only Arizona.
Okay. And 60 some images, I guess.
66 prints, ranging from his idea was that because I do so much more than landscape, which was how I began, that I would show soft adventure and architecture and people and Native Americans, animals, all kinds of things. Because I do love to photograph most everything that we have here in Arizona. It's quite a variety.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a look at those, or some of those anyway, not all 67, of course, but a few of them, and talk about them some more. So what's different about photographing in Arizona other than the obvious?
That's a great question. I know I chose to live in Arizona for several reasons. One, I thought it was a great place to raise a family, and I have 3 grown sons. It's an easy place to travel from. We've got a great airport. These are professional considerations. I'm close to California, to the coast. I can be in the Four Corners of the Rockies within a day's drive. I can be down in Baja California very easily and travel pretty much anywhere in the world with ease. So Arizona as a travel hub made sense, but specifically Arizona, that's a great question. I love the Southwest because so much of the land is revealed. It's not covered up so much of it by forests and plant growth, although there are times when I love to see a lot of green, like on a recent trip to Scotland. But really, it's the bare bones of the planet exposed. And for a landscape photographer, or someone who loves to explore wild landscapes, Arizona, to me, just makes sense.
So obviously, you've got a wide variety of temperatures there, which you sort of have to take into account. And I'm guessing because of the altitude and latitude that the lighting can be a challenge at times.
Yeah, I've experienced 125 degrees straight temperature in Lake Havasu City and -10 at the Grand Canyon in the wintertime, right after a cold storm went through. So that's 135 degrees is a pretty good range.
Yeah.
I do have gear for all that in my gear closet, which is great. I would say photographing outdoor, I do a lot of water photography. I own several kayaks that I can travel with. I've kayaked down in Havasupai. I think I'm the first person to ever bring to photograph kayaking below the waterfalls of Havasupai back in 2013. And so I've got lots of gear to make all that happen. I've rafted the Grand Canyon 17 times.
Wow.
And I'm always game to do it again. So that's part of what's in the show. There's a lot of variety in those 66 prints.
Oh, wasn't aware that you could kayak to Havasupai. I thought you had to hike in or take a helicopter or something.
But that makes me a little bit of a story. I backpacked in with friends, and I put my inflatable Innova kayak and a pump and the paddles, of course, in a bag that they provide, and that went down on mule down to the village of Supai. And we hiked in. At that point, I picked up the bag along with my backpack and took it down to the campground. And after that, just carried it around everywhere and inflated it to use to photograph below Havasu Falls, Booney Falls, in Havasu Creek. And I got lots of funny, curious questions from people saying, "How'd you get here?" And after a while, I just went with it. I said, "Well, I kayaked in from Page." That really got me 20 minutes. And they said, "How are you going to get out of here?" I said, "Well, I'm headed to Yuma." Obviously, there's a long tradition of tall tale telling in the Grand Canyon, like John Hance, and I'm trying to emulate people like that by telling stories.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. So you photographed in places that you helped make famous, and how do you come up with ideas for location shots in Arizona?
Well, in the beginning, I just looked for places I hadn't been, and I went out discovering. So I like to joke with people that I was always ready for a road trip, and I've called my show Arizona Odyssey. I am not Ulysses. I'm not Homer, but I have probably made 1,000 trips around Arizona. I've long since given up trying to figure out how many. And looking for blank places on the map or places where someone says, there's something out here you should take a look at. For example, in the mid-90s, the Bureau of Reclamation opened up Black Canyon, which is the canyon that Hoover Dam sits at the top of, to impound and perform Lake Mead. And when it was open to the public, I explored it with some kayakers, and it turned out that it was just perfect timing because Arizona Highways was going to do a story. And I showed the editor, Pete Ensenberger, my images, and he said, "How about doing a story on this?" And it turns out that there is what's like a sea cave there at the bottom end of Black Canyon, and it was unnamed. And it's like floating on an emerald crystal. I think that may be one of the shots that I sent to you, and is also definitely in the show. And at the right time of the day, the sun comes through into the cave obviously from the west, and it's like floating on an emerald crystal for about 30 minutes in there. It's purely magical. I've taken Disney there, Adobe, lots of friends, a few workshops, and I named it Emerald Cave for the story, and the name stuck. It's been Emerald Cave ever since 1997. So that's kind of a treat.
Yeah, guess so. Was that because the water levels were low at that time, or what?
No, the water levels fluctuate some, but it's fairly consistent. It's really more a seasonal thing about Emerald Cave. And if people write to me or they go to the show and they want to talk to me, I'm happy to give information about where it is. It's not a big space, and it's kind of easy to miss unless you know where to look. But once you're in there with a wide angle lens, it'll stay with you forever. It's magical when you're at the right time.
Yeah, we definitely have that photo to look at. So look forward to that. So if someone wanted to make a photo trip to Arizona a week or two, what sites would be on your list?
Well, it depends on season. And of course, if it's their first trip, and if they had a week, 2 weeks, something like that, and if they're physically active, you can do quite a lot. I mean, it is a really big state. It's the sixth biggest state in all the 48 states. Well, actually, I think 50. And so obviously, Four Corners country, I think you absolutely want to spend some time at Monument Valley. If you were able to set up a trip with a guide up to Hunts Mesa and camp atop on the roof of the desert, the way I think about it, looking down at Monument Valley, that's fantastic. Canyon de Chelly with Jeep tour in there. Obviously, if you feel like hiking, you can do it. Hiking with a permit down into overnight down into the Grand Canyon is great. I've done that quite a bit. Exploring the North Rim, Toro Weep if you've got a four-wheel drive. The 62 miles out there is well worth it. Make sure you get a permit so you can camp, and then you can see the stars and look down 3,000 feet to the river. That's tremendous. But there are so many places as you go all around the state. Ghost towns, tremendous architecture. I did a story for Arizona Highways, 10 buildings that respect the land, and everything from Frank Lloyd Wright's Taliesin West, Under the Stars, to Mission San Javier in Tucson, the White Dove of the Desert, as they call it, tremendously beautiful church, and other great locations. So there's architecture, people. Tombstone is fun. And one of those images is in the show. There's great variety in Arizona. And so really, I do custom trips. I set them up for people who are wanting to explore Arizona. And I just ask what they're interested in. And then I put together an itinerary that works for them. But I'm happy to suggest and answer questions for anybody that writes to me. So feel free to write, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of my favorite places, Monument Valley and Canyon de Chelly, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So you've been making large wall hangings for a long time before it became the thing to do, I think. What's your technique from start to finish? What gear do you use? What software? And do you print your own, or you have somebody do it for you?
Great questions. I've been a Pentax shooter my whole career, which makes me an oddity. I realize that. But I've used from all their film cameras from the mid-'70s into digital. I've used their medium format digital cameras, and those are great to produce huge files for making huge prints if you need to. And I've made, for clients, had some really large prints made. For the show, the biggest print that I have in Gilbert is 32 by 40. And actually, I think there is a 40 by 60 perhaps as well. So when you're working for medium format, that's pretty easy to prep those files. I use Lightroom to download images, and of course go into Photoshop for finishing. So that's the software. For my Pro Lab is based in Scottsdale, called Artisan Color, and they do tremendous work. And I'm really excited to hang the show coming up in about 10 days to get it ready for the opening on December 4th.
Do you use any of the Topaz software that's popular now?
I'm aware of it, but I haven't used it. I use Silver FX sometimes. Primarily, I can achieve what I want with Lightroom and Photoshop so far. So, but I'm always happy to look at new software, and I learn about it when I take people out on location. And at the end of the day, they're sitting with their laptop and showing me something I haven't seen before sometimes. And I know Lightroom has some new masks that people are quite excited about. So,
yeah, those masks are pretty cool, I have to say. That's one of the most exciting things Lightroom's done in a long time.
Great. And I have yet to look. I just updated this morning, literally, and prepping for the show. So I look forward to learning it. This is one of the great things about photography. You can always learn. You're continually learning and improving the technique, and you're seeing, of course. And I never, ever feel like I've done the best work I'll ever do. I mean, I always feel like I can make better images as time goes on.
Yeah, the masking is pretty remarkable. It's pretty easy to use, pretty user friendly, and you can make lots of adjustments to it. So yeah, I look forward to using that a lot in the future.
Great.
Well, let's take a look at some of your photos here. Are you able to see that?
Yes, I can see the slot canyon there.
Right.
That's one that doesn't get visited all that much in the Page area, called Secret Canyon. It's the upper section, high section of Waterholes Canyon, if people know Page.
Okay. I just assumed that it was Antelope Canyon since that gets done so much, but obviously not.
Great thing about Secret is that it's, you tend to go, at least in the past, you went in there on essentially a private tour, and you never had people in your way, and you could still use a tripod, which I hear you can't do any longer in Antelope Canyon.
Yep. So very similar sandstone, it looks like, and
Right.
pretty nice light.
Yeah, very nice light, the same great sandstone and some different shapes, like this tongue of sandstone. But that's a medium format digital image with the.
No wonder it's so sharp. So what was the name of it again? I'm sorry.
Secret.
Secret.
Yeah.
Must be a secret. I've never even heard of it.
I think it may have reopened now since the Navajo Nation reopened, although things are always in flux up there because they have to be very careful with conditions.
How'd you arrange to have the rainbow there?
Well, luck and luck. How about that? That was taken back in the mid-90s in August during the monsoon, the rainbow over the Mittens. And there was a huge thunderstorm cell that came drifting over from Black Mesa, if you know, around Kayenta. And it drifted, it was coming my way at Monument Valley. And I positioned myself near the Mittens and waited it out. And it was intense. It was raining sideways, really hard, high winds, and became extremely muddy in a hurry. But as the cell passed over, I could see light off to the southwest. It was late afternoon, and I knew the conditions were absolutely perfect for rainbows. And when the sun came through, I had 45 minutes of rainbows to work with, including a complete double rainbow arcing over the Mittens. And then this is with medium format 6x7 Pentax. I was ripping film through the cameras and singing at the same time. It was just transcendent. And I was the only one out there getting muddy. So luck favors you sometimes.
Okay. So you didn't shoot this from the parking lot, obviously. This must have been down on the road.
No, this is at the old campground, which is now where the new view cabins are located. That's how you know where the Mittens are tight.
Okay. A little different perspective than you usually see, too.
I like them closer together, personally. Okay, this is Booney Falls, probably 2013 or 14. And I took a group of friends down for a 4 or 5 day trip down there. And the stars are circling around Polaris. There is the light of a rising moon that is lighting the back wall of limestone. And then a friend of mine and I, Harry Ford from Tucson, has been with me on many adventures. We used 2 flashlights, LED flashlights, to light the 200-foot Booney Falls. And if I did that now with my current camera, which has incredible high ISO performance, it would look even better. But I'll take this one.
Yeah, very nice. So where is this? Where's Booney Falls?
Havasupai. This is Booney Falls.
Okay. Okay. You have to have permits to get in there, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. And it has gotten a lot tougher to get into Havasupai because of the demand. It's world famous. It's been Instagrammed. So you know what happens then, right?
Yep.
So now it's permits go on sale early in the year, and they go for the whole year, and they go really quick. And I've been there almost 20 times since college, but it's still magical. It's just harder to make it happen. So persevere and you can get in there.
Okay.
So on the Grand Canyon river trips, the guides, if they're musically inclined, often take their river passengers to this canyon called Blacktail, further down the canyon, well past Phantom Ranch and all that. And the acoustics in this canyon are perfect. And there have been a number of recording sessions down there for music CDs, et cetera. They'll actually go to the trouble to pack recording gear of high quality down there and instruments to record. Anyway, my river guide, this is back in the 90s, had a fantastic flute. He knew how to play it. And we just were absolutely enchanted by hearing the sounds in there. And we were lucky because there had been rain and it created this reflection pool. And that's shot with a medium format film camera, Pentax 6.7.
Well, that's fairly high dynamic range in there. So you were able to capture that with film?
With film, with Velvia.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good sound too.
Oh, That was a challenge, I bet.
Oh yeah.
So you like to use people in your photos, like your guide, and got one other one that where the
Yeah, I was leading a workshop group down in Havasupai, and we've been photographing. This is Booney Falls, down along the creek below Booney Falls, and coming back up to the cliff trail. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. That's the straight up the cliff, ladders, and through it all. And there was this really fit couple down below. As my people were starting up the cliff trail, I looked back from my shoulder and saw them do this, and I said to myself, "Oh my God, this is great!" So I ran over to them and I said, "Will you do it again? I'll send you a print." And they did it, and I sent them a print. They're from Utah, and I just loved the feeling of grace and in the moment and the power of the waterfall. And it was really a spontaneous kind of a thing that they recreated for me, because they weren't doing it for an audience initially. That was just them.
oh, I assume they were models.
They were a couple, and I don't know. I don't know their story exactly, but they're super nice people from Salt Lake.
Yeah, super
So you
fit.
know people that you're going to meet when you're out there, and that's one of the greatest things about photography and exploring in Arizona and the West, especially. I think you just get to meet the best people. Oh yeah,
Yeah. There's Emerald Cave, I assume.
yeah. So that is was taken last year or possibly late in September 2019. Could have been that. And I had a new kayak, Innova inflatable sea kayak, which is red. And that's my girlfriend, Julie, who's wearing a red hat. And I just wanted to do a brand new shot with a new Pentax lens. So that's what's going on here. And that's what it looks like when I tell you, it is so green, you can't believe it. I don't have the saturation pumped very much on this. It's mainly a contrast thing. So, but it's only like that for 30, 35, maybe 40 minutes in late summer. And then it's gone till the next year.
So where's the green color coming from?
The water is quite clear as it comes out of the base of Lake Mead, and cool. It's pretty darn cool. It's like 55 degrees. And the cave itself is in a light colored volcanic rock, and the rock that's fallen from the ceiling to the bottom acts like a reflector panel. So when you get the right angle sun, the light bounces off that up through the water, and it's just got this green color.
Wow.
It's like the water is alive. Like
Yeah.
the water actually has its own color, like a dye. Of course, it's not. So it's an apparition.
Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Monument Valley, I guess.
Yes. And in recent years, I've taken to carrying with me one or now two DSLRs, Pentax DSLRs that I've converted to infrared monochrome, and 800 to 50 and 800 to 30 nanometers. And I've always loved black and white, and I've especially loved the high contrast. And in the old days, I used to carry some black and white infrared film and the deep red 25A filter to put on your front lens element to make it work. And it was nasty stuff. It was very sensitive to heat and light, of course. But when you got great results, they were fun. So now with the modified camera, it's much easier to achieve the same look. And so I carry it on international trips, like recently to Scotland and Ireland, and even Switzerland back in September. But this is Monument Valley, and that horse was in a place I'd never seen, and it was sort of following us, my group, and we jokingly called it the spirit horse. It really just wanted to eat the fresh grass, which is not very commonly
Yeah,
at Monument Valley.
for sure. So this wasn't a posed picture at all. It's just happened upon it, huh?
Yeah, he was below us, below the view cabins where we were staying, waiting for the sunset light. So it's later in the afternoon, not really late yet. And as long as we didn't get too close, and didn't get in the way of his feeding.
He was fine with it.
I'm shooting with a 15 millimeter lens on an APS-C format camera, so it's like a 22. So you can tell I'm kind of close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little more about your show.
Yes, we have an opening reception in Gilbert on October. I've been all over the place all year since the middle of the year. Excuse me. On December 4th in the afternoon into the evening. And if you can make it, I'd love to see you and talk to you. But if you can't make it then and you happen to be in Arizona anytime up until March 5th, give me a call, send me an email. If I'm in town, I only live 5 miles away. And if you'd like, I'd love to stop on in and, walk you through the show, and I can answer questions.
That'd be wonderful.
It's just fun for me to meet people that love photography in Arizona as much as I do. So.
Well, where can people find you and all the things you're doing these days?
They can find me through my main website, which is my name, kerrickjames.com. And there are links on there that you can find me that way. You can Google me. You can find plenty of ways to catch me through that. Facebook, Instagram is great as well. And again, I'm happy to answer questions. A lot of people have helped me along the way and enriched my photography and my travels. So I'm always happy to pay it forward or pay it backward, whichever way it is.
Well, congrats on the gallery showing. That's exciting. Thanks for fitting us into your busy life. So it's a great pleasure to get together.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's fun to share as always. And I'm excited to get back out on the road. And I think of Arizona as a state that launched 1,000 trips. If I can, for me personally, it did.
Yeah, sounds like. Well, each episode of the Photographing the West podcast is published on the 15th and 30th of the month. Do me a huge favor and subscribe wherever you listen or watch. And if you enjoy these podcasts, help support them by using the affiliate links in the show notes. It doesn't cost you a cent, and it gives me a little bit of benefit. So bye for now, and stop back on December 15th for a show with landscape photographer Alan Muckrowitz for more Southwest photography goodness. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.